Hello everyone, this is Ben from SSW and I'm here to take you through how I've set up subdomains in the Student Tracker project. Now as you can see on the screen here, I've just added a form element to the screen subdomain and at the moment it's set to not found. If you have a quick look up at my URL, it says studenttracker.local with a port number, and this is just while I'm running it locally. But essentially, now what we can do is jump up the front here and go Ben, add a subdomain, and it flows through. And we can do this for anything at all, and it will flow through automatically. This is not going to take any server setup or anything like that once it's all in place. So there's no, once you've sort of set up the system, there's no manually adding of any of these subdomains. Okay, so to replicate this, let's jump into the code, and I'll just walk you through what's happening. Now this is for Michael and Igor. So I've grabbed a subdomain route class that I found on Stack Overflow and just altered it a little bit. Essentially all we do is this goes into the route config, and I'll show you that briefly. Here it is, it's the top route, so this will get run before any of the default routes. So back into subdomain route. Basically we grab the host out of the headers. We determine if there is a dot. Now, of course, there's going to be a dot because of the .com normally, but if you're using localhost, we just need to make sure that there's a dot there, otherwise we return null. We detect the subdomain, which will be everything up until the first dot. That way we can have as many sort of top domains as we need. There's a quick blacklist to make sure that certain subdomains are ignored. So for example, if I went www.studenttracker, it's back to not found. The next thing it does is, let's see, so yeah, if it contains any of the blacklist domains, then it won't do it. The next thing it does is it assumes, or it grabs the controller name and the action name out of the URL segments and uses home and index as defaults, puts this into a new route and then sends it on its way. So we can also delete the subdomain and it will still work, and it'll just say not found. To get this working locally, guys, all you need to do is a couple of things. First of all, make sure that each of the subdomains you want to test are in your host file. So this will only work if it'll only work on your development machine if this stuff is in here. And secondly, to get it so that Visual Studio or IIS Express binds to anything, any host name in front of this port number, you've just got to jump into your application config or application host config. And you can find this by jumping down into IIS Express, just right click that, go to show all applications, and if you click on that once, you can see it down here. And this is a link to that particular file. And once you're in that file, you're going to look, it's fairly close to the top. You're just going to keep looking until you see these site name nodes, I guess you'd call them. Come down until you can find the Student Tracker 2015 project. Now if you've been fiddling with the file, you might have a couple of them, but that's okay. Just find the bottommost one. Go in and find the binding information, and it'll normally look like it'll have like localhost here. And so what you do is you just delete that. Make sure it's star at port 49332 or whatever port is assigned to your project file. And then we'll save this file like that. You're going to want to exit IIS Express. You're going to make sure that you open up your Visual Studio as an administrator, otherwise it will no longer run the project. It'll say access is denied. And once you've done that, you should be able to just run the project. It'll still work on localhost. And in fact, it'll work on anything you put in here. But if you update your host file with something like studenttracker.local, go to the login page, and of course all the links flow through with whatever domain you put there. And then we should be able to set up all the schools to basically automatically detect the subdomain. We'll do a lookup on the school each time we find one of these, and then we can of course look up only users within that school. And that's the end of this demonstration for the subdomain task. I'm going to write that one off, check it in, and hand it back to you guys. Cheers.